Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And again, I bring on another fantastic guest. But before we get to the gentleman, let me just say, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. Please share out the video. And once again, please, I have the Oswald Chronicles currently on Indemand on Indiegogo. So please go check it out and help support the channel and help support the cause. Thank you so much. And without further ado, here's our guest, Mr. Travis Gibb. How you doing, Travis?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So, all right. So, Travis, let's get right into it, man. So, we all got into this game the same way, right? We all were little kids at some point, and we all got comic books from whomever, wherever, right?
Right.
But there was a specific book or books. It could be a series of books that you got a hold of at one point in your life, and that book sang to you and it told you to say, hey man, this is what you got to do. And that's the book that you said to yourself, yeah, I got to do this. What was that book for you?
So for me, it's a little different. I know I totally get what you're saying, and I agree with it in theory.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's my first comic book. Obviously, it was the first things that I thought were art, right? That weren't just like superheroes fighting about art. Mm-hmm. But for me, I grew up in Dover, New Hampshire, Rochester area, which is right where the Ninja Turtles came from.
Gotcha.
So, and I am 40 years old, so about when they were coming up at the same time. So for me, creating comics was a something you could do because someone in my hometown did it. And they did it really, really well,
Yeah.
So I could see them, I could embrace them. So for me, like, it wasn't about it wasn't that one thing that I read. It was that watching this cartoon that I love, know that two people did it, and they lived right down the road. I could drive to where the studios were. Mm-hmm. It was really, really cool. So for me, that was kind of my thing. I really got into some of the early Image stuff. I really got into, the X-Men. I'm a huge X-Men fan. I got Magneto is right shirt right now. I got Magneto everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the character that got it. But, my top comic, my favorite issue of all time, and the one that I find most influential, is Crimson #7. So are you remember Crimson?
Yeah, I remember Crimson, Humberto Ramos.
Yeah, Humberto Ramos and Brian Augustus. There's in issue 7, basically what happens is a vampire goes into like a room, like this cafe. These angels come in and murder everybody in the place, and they put him on trial for a whole bunch of stuff. It's all dialogue mostly. And basically the end result is 3 of the angels decide to kill him, 3 of them decide to give him mercy and grace. And then Lucifer comes in as the deciding vote and says, I like him, he's a Rangers fan. There was something about that just going like nothing happened. There was no Spider-Man. There was no big fight. There was no big vampire killing each other. There was nothing. Just the dialogue engaged me. And that's really what changed everything for me with comics. So I started looking for people who did dialogue heavy stuff. So I got into Brian Michael Bendis in his early work. That's when I veered off. I was really into film at that time. So I was into Kevin Smith or Quentin Tarantino. So dialogue was my life. Getting these people to say things in uncanny situations, right? They're saying one thing, but uncanny things are happening around them. How can I duplicate that and do it well?
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, one of the famous things that Dave Sim once said was, we don't get into fist fights every day, but we do talk every day.
Right.
So it was always one of those things. So I always took that to heart in my work too. It says, well, strange things are going to happen, but they don't happen every day, or at least not at every moment. So I mean, as a writer, obviously you've worked with a number of artists. What's your how do you work? Are you you're like a firm script guy, like a DC guy, or are you like a Marvel guy where it's a little bit loose, a little bit more plot, and then you pass it on to your artists? How do you like to work?
I run it very military. I pay them very little and try to avoid doing any actual work and let them do the heavy lifting and make me look good. Gotcha. I write full script. My background's in film, so I'm used to writing full script. So I write a very full script, hand it out. It's I don't add a lot of description. I added a little bit of camera angles, not a lot of description. But that's how I write down the script, and then depending on the artist, I give them a little bit more, a little bit less. Some of them need a little bit more direction, some of them don't. I started out working with a guy from Indonesia. He's Felix Navarre. He works on Broke Down and Four Dead Bodies with me, and he needed a lot more direction early on, but now he doesn't. Like, so early on, I had to explain a lot of things, had to explain what things look like. Right. I remember one time. It's actually not with Felix, but it's with somebody else. I asked somebody for food trucks, little food trucks, very American. Yeah. So he did a food, like big container of food and meat, which both are right. I was looking for said thing. So when you work for an artist, you gotta give a lot more description, sometimes pictures. Also with Felix, I had meant for my comic to be from New Hampshire because that's where I'm from. I live in Florida now, but that's where I'm from. So I wanted it to be in New Hampshire. And he started out drawing mountains, and then randomly we were in a desert, and I didn't quite know how to do that. I was like, "What are you doing? What has deserts and mountains? That doesn't make sense." And apparently Colorado does, so I'm good. There's some desert dirt roads type thing.
Right.
And so I chose to move to Colorado.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I hear you. You froze for like half a second.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. All right, cool. So I mean, now that's interesting. Now, early on, obviously, you were looking for artists. You see, you worked with a guy from Indonesia. I worked with a number of individuals from overseas myself. So I mean, where are you finding your artists?
Well, back in the day, because I'm old school. I've been doing this a long time. Right. The place to be was digitalwebbing.com. That was the place to be. That Meshes board is the shit. It still exists. It's just it doesn't do what it used to do. It was where you went back in the day. Now I kind of just find them as I'm building relationships. I've actually got to the point. I mean, I'm not trying to brag, but I've got a couple of things in my belt. So people ask me often, "Hey, do you got anything for me? Hey, I'd really like to work with you." So I don't really have to look for artists. Maybe I should, but I don't have to look for as much. Right. Even the other day, like I'm not going to tell you who, but I got a high-profile cover done, and they gave me a really good rate, and I was really happy about it. And I bragged about it to a friend, and that friend was like, "Oh, he was going to charge me $500." I was like, "Oh, I paid a lot less than that." So I've got a little bit of rep, so I don't have to worry about it as much. But digital webbing, but there is a good place, Colors for Hire. On Facebook, I find not only colorists, but I found letterers. I found everything in that little group. It's a really good group, even though it's for colorists.
Right. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I for years have used DeviantArt.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I found a number of artists on there. So I've been successful on there. So that's one of the places I always send people to. And digital webbing, yeah, I was back on there way back in the day. Yeah, when Ryan Otley was still there.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. Him and what's that other guy? I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly. ASRAR. He works at Marvel currently.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Because I remember with him, like I remember both of them from back in the day being on that message board.
I mean, it was such a great message board. I mean, and even now I see people on it, who are doing stuff. I was looking up Jim O'Reilly, who's an indie guy who does a bunch of little things, and he did a book called Ripper Man. I was like, oh, I remember Ripper Man. That was a thing. Like all these different options.
Right. No, yeah, man. I mean, it's fantastic reaching out and meeting people from all over. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so let me ask you this: like, what is when you are looking for an artist? What are you looking for? Like, what's the key thing?
See, that's tough. And I'm going to be a little honest, especially because one of the things I like about your show, I've watched a few episodes now, is it's not always just about promotion. It's about the craft and what it is. So I'm going to be a little bit honest. One of my books, and I'm not going to tell anybody which one because I'm very proud of it, has trouble when I submit it because people don't dig the art per se. But I really dig it. So that's a struggle with me. So I don't always find what's necessarily popular. It's find what I like.
Right.
And normally I would say that that's, when you start out, that's the way you should go. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, all right, now I got to think of like a business, because everyone's like, your writing is fine. You're not the problem, unless they're lying to me. This is what I find. So what do I do? How do I get that and do that? So really what I look at for someone who's affordable, someone who really wants to be part of the comic experience. So I find if someone's harassing me for money too fast or any of those things, there's a real red flags for me, because that means they don't care about your project. They care about the money in their pocket. I don't want someone who wants money in their pocket. Not that people don't deserve to be paid. I've paid every one of my artists. It's not about that. It's about if that's their focus, they're not there for the love of the craft. That means someone can buy them from you at any point. So it's not worth that headache. I have an edit. I'm a writer. I subcontract, and one of the guys has hired me, and I have a artist who's literally hounding me every day for money and pages. I give him money. He takes like 3 weeks to do one page. I'm like, we're not on the same page here, man. But yeah, so that's what I look for. But I look for people who really get what I'm trying to do. That's the key thing. And what I really encourage you, if you are an artist and you know a writer that you like, really show him that you like your stuff. He will reach out eventually if he likes your stuff. Just a friend of mine, Chuck Pino, everybody knows Chuck. He posted out, hey, I need this artist. And tons of people harassed him. And it's the worst thing, especially when you have a couple of books on your belt, is posting that you need an artist, because then everybody gets mad at you for not choosing them, regardless of whether or not they were good for the project.
No, I got you. So now that's the thing. That's the interesting thing. Like, because you said you have, I know when I started early in my career, right? I started self-publishing in 91, 92. So I've been in this for a minute. So now, but when I started off with a bunch of other young guys, young lady, so on and so forth. But we were all 50-50 partners. I wasn't paying anyone. We were just getting everything off the back end. Everybody got paid on the back end. Now, are you looking for partners or employees? Because there's a big difference. Are you looking? You know what I mean? It depends on the project, obviously. But I mean, what are you looking for?
At this point in my career, I kind of want to own everything. I don't mean to be like that. It's hard with creator-owned stuff. Voodoo Nations is the first thing that's creator-owned. It's with me and Luke has been fine to work with. That's not the problem. But it's really tough knowing, like, all right, Luke is doing hybrids and all these other things.
Right.
I also am doing all these other things, and no one, so we're gonna have to find time to do this. And is it gonna be passionate enough for both of us to really want to do it? I'm always second guessing Luke's passion. I mean, I saw Luke's interview with you. Like, he's clearly passionate about the project, clearly wants to do it. But in the back of my head, it's hard to feel that when I'm working on my stuff, and it gets in your head. So I prefer to own and just pay somebody. But finance is where it is. It's kind of tough. But I also don't mind, on the other way, if an artist approached me and said, hey, I want to do something with you. If I believed in the idea and we could get something good, I wouldn't mind partnering with somebody to do stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. That's one of the things that that interests me. Like, because for the longest time I work with my wife.
Yeah.
So we're 50-50 partners, but she owns me. So you know how that is, right? So but then with the Oswald Chronicles, I hire people, and I own it and I just pay them. But I've spoken to other artists recently, and they're like, well, do you want to partner up? And then I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm looking, I'm like, do I want to partner or do I want to just pay them and just own it and just, you know what I mean? So it's one of those questions. It's one of those questions where I'm struggling with it at the moment. So, so I'm just wondering how the guys are dealing with it.
We're in a weird world today, right? Anything could happen where that decision looks really good right now, but it doesn't look good later. Right. So, when I wrote up my stuff with Voodoo Nations and Luke, I said, hey, man, I want to commit to the 4 issues and all that, but I want to be able to take it somewhere if you're not interested in it. How do we do that? How do we make sure that that's interesting?
Right.
First refusal or whatever. Because I don't want to be locked into something if I don't want. That's not about the money. Like, I'll give you that Kirkman money, right? Like, if I ever make the Kirkman level and I have to still pay the first artist, I can't think of his name right now, but I have to keep paying him, whatever, man. Like, and then you eventually sue me and you get more money, whatever. It's all going to be fine. Like, I just want to be able to do what I need to do and you not, like, lawsuiting me so I can't.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. You know, that's one of those things you got to figure out early on. All right, so going back a little bit into process, because we spoke a little about how you write the scripts. Now, when you actually formulate an idea, come up with a thing, are you a pantser or a plotter?
I'm a plotter. I write out the whole series. I then write out the page in the beats to make sure my flips are right before I even start scripting.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll go ahead and go straight into the writing. But very, very rarely. Most of the time I plot it out. And a lot of times my plots are wrong. Right? When I start writing it, I'll feel differently and I'll let it go into those different directions.
Right.
But I plot it out because I need to know where I'm going towards the end. So even if I deviate when I'm writing, I still need to get to where I need to go in the end. So my plotting still matters. So like for Voodoo Nations, for instance, I just sent in my second script to Luke and to the whole team. We go to New Orleans in issue 2, and I wanted to have an issue in New Orleans and leave. But I really loved New Orleans, and I really needed a little more time. So I took a little time from, issue 3 to do it. So I left us in New Orleans so I could have a little time. And that's okay because I have it plotted out. And so I can do that.
Right.
And it's not going to have an extra issue at some point or anything. I got to take some stuff from the plot later.
Now, when you actually sit down and write, and you're writing a script, what's your average time period to write a script? Is it a week, 2 weeks, a couple of days? What are you looking at?
I mean, I have a baby, so my numbers are shattered right now. But if I'm into it, I can normally get a page done in an issue done in 3 days. But really, it takes about a month, the whole process. Like the writing, the drafts, the overlooking, to do all that. And that's not even counting editing. I'm a horrible editor. I'm a horrible speller. Like, that's a whole nother process. But that's just me making sure that it's right and perfect. There's exceptions, of course, to that rule if you're really into it. Writing endings actually isn't that hard to me because I plot so well. Like, endings are hard, easy for me. But issue 2s are the hardest for me. They're always the hardest because issue 1, you knew what you wanted to say. You had your story, you had your setup, you had your hook. Issue 2 is like, all right, can you deliver on the promise that you gave for issue 1? And that's when you get a little intimidated. It takes a little time.
Gotcha. All right, cool. That's interesting. Now, how many because I know you work on multiple projects. How many projects do you currently have rolling at the same time right now?
5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I have Broke Down and 4 Dead Bodies. We're finishing the 4th issue. I also have Broke Down and Tapped Out, which is the book after that I'm in developing now because I want to be able to come out a little bit faster.
Right.
Got Voodoo Nations #1 just wrapping up, but there's still covers and printing and pre-press and all that. So, like I just said, issue 2 just got submitted. We got Cthulhu Invades Oz, which is the big mega project that I'm working on with a whole bunch of creators. So we've got that rolling out into heavy production. The book's almost done. I've got a book called Islands that I wrote, and that he wants me to be the art director on. So I'm very hands-on with the guy. And then I've got a one called, it's technically on hiatus, but he's gone back and forth. It's called Sacrificial Lambs, and that's a COVID vampire story. So I want it to be the first COVID vampire story. And then I guess there's 6. There's the Avocator. I'm working on the Avocator, but I'm not writing anything in that. I'm just putting it together and putting it together.
Gotcha. So you're just hurting the cats on that.
Correct. But yeah, that's it. Even though I'm writing other stuff, there is stuff that I'm writing. Like, I am at my wit's end. I can't.
Gotcha. Now, moving on to like Voodoo Nations and I mean, hold on. Let's do this. Like, let's make it a blanket thing because you've done a lot of Kickstarters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I have.
So I mean, how many in total have you done to this point?
Let's count. All right. So ones that I am fully in charge of, meaning that I am the writer in everything. That is 6.
Okay.
For advocates, we did another 3, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9.
Mm-hmm.
I have 5 novels that I've done for various people.
Wow.
I didn't have any writing in any of that. I also
Mm-hmm.
did Dog Days. So we're at like 18. 18.
Gotcha. Okay, nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel it's treated you as far as like how's Kickstarter treated you and like how's the fan base treated you?
So for my work, my fan base always grows.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned that so people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Right.
All right. So I know they know me. I know they like me. But that trust thing is still a little hard. There's a lot of people who back on the digital side who I know back physical for other products. So I don't always have the trust there, but my backer numbers are going up. So my last project was just for issue 3 was 180 backers, $3,770. Obviously, with this one right as of right now is 216 backers with 4,142. So we're obviously increasing, and I'm getting more and more fans. Some of that's of course Luke, but I see the backer list. I know who's backed my stuff. I know who's new.
Right.
So figuring all that out has been good. I'm very close to beating my personal record for most backed, which is 218. So I'm hoping that I can beat that.
Right.
And then my money number is I need to beat 7,000 for me as the primary writer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Now, where do you like? What is your end game? Like, do you have a publishing house that you run all your stuff out of? Like, do you own a publisher, or are you running out of like another house?
That's a great question. So for my work, that I'm the primary only writer, they're all under Orange Cone Productions except for Dog Days. Dog Days was Evelzine. There's all sorts of craziness with Dog Days, but Evelzine did that one. And then the Islands book that I just talked about and the Sacrifice of the Lamb, those are their properties. I'm just a hired on writer. But Broke Down, Voodoo Nations, and a book called Parallels, those are all mine. Cthulhu Invades Oz will also be under my house, but it's an anthology. But my end goal is to submit it and get it in other publishers, get it into film stores. I don't really need to be a publisher. It's not a dream of mine to publish other people's works. I'm doing it.
Right. Okay, I got you. So I mean, because the attachment question to that is like, what is your end game with these projects? Is it getting into like a larger publisher, distributing through Diamond, that sort of thing?
Yeah. I want to find someone who can really like the property, wants to be part of the property, and move it to the next level. That's the goal of all my stuff. Hey, do you like it? Do you really, really like it? Will you publish it under your house?
Right.
My goal is to work for other people. Like I like writing, and I don't mind. I don't have to own everything. It's not about that. Obviously I'd like to stay in the creator-owned market, like sort of Source Point or Red 5 or Scout Comics, but I'm okay with leaving that market if I need to too.
Okay, that's cool. Now, as far as scheduling, how many like like you got Voodoo Nations going on, you have your Cthulhu book going on, you got all these other books going on, like, and then because I find this fascinating, because I do like one book and then I do another book and I package it, send it out, then I do another one. But I mean, like, are you doing all the work? Like, are you packaging, shipping, doing all that jazz?
Yeah, for anything that is Orange Cone, it all goes through me. Even some of the advocators too. The advocators switch between me and Rob Anderson. I'll do one, he'll do one. I'll do one, he'll do one. But they're all through me, all shipped out packages. But I'm really good at it. Like my last Kickstarter, I got it to their house 2 weeks after the campaign, not counting international things. This one is the same way. The minute the Kickstarter ends, so in 5 days, hopefully my team will have it ready. I'm going to ship that out to the printer. I will have it, and I'll pay for it before I even get the money in the Kickstarter. We may have to wait for some of the stuff, but I really want to just get these things so I don't go until it's live, till it's done or mostly done. It's got to be at least 85 to 90% done. So it means some lettering, maybe a couple of pages of coloring isn't done. That's okay. But it needs to be mostly done or done before the end of the 30 days.
Gotcha. Now that's really cool. So, so I guess you got your packing game down.
I do. Yeah. I try to do at least one a quarter a Kickstarter. I think I may be doing one more than that this year, but I really did like mid-year. The COVID hit me so hard because I couldn't do any of the cons. I had to find a way to raise money, so I put together all my old anthology stories and put them into a package. Made a little bit of money to help me pay for Voodoo Nations and for Broke Down 4. But normally, so there'll be 5 this year, but normally it's one a quarter. I do one every 3 months or so.
Gotcha. Now, are you doing this full time, or do you have like a regular day job and then you just do this as a side gig?
So my primary job is web design, web marketing, which is good, but it's it's only me and another guy, so it's not like it's a huge company. So I would say probably 20% on comics and then 80% that, but the 20% you see a lot more because I'm very active at it.
Right. Yeah. Because you told me, what is it? You told me before you came on to do this, you're on another show.
Yeah. There's a show that just had me on real quick, and in fact, when I get off of here, I'm going to see if he's still live, and I'll jump back on there.
Right.
Just because I'm friends with creators. I love the creative process. I love being with people. I just got a book today, actually. A gentleman needed me to help prepackage it. So I sent it to my letterer, had him prepackage it. And then I read this wonderful thing about me. I didn't help that guy, but he clearly felt I did. He wrote this wonderful, Travis, thank you so much. Special thanks. And I'm like, I gave you a little bit of advice one time. But I love creating. I love being part of a community that wants to create. And not just complain about it, but really bring their craft to the next level. I've been doing this a long time. I started in 2003. I took 10 years off to raise my daughter. My daughter's 18 now, but to raise my daughter, I took about 10 years off in between. But I don't think people understand how hard it was back in the day. We created stuff, we printed stuff, we went to a table, and we didn't make our money back most of the time. And then we did it again the next weekend. And we had to have our families, we had to do this and just hope that someone cared enough. It's not like that anymore. You can do Kickstarter, you can get your stuff out there. If you can't make money on cons now, I don't know what to tell you, because you can print all these variant covers. Digital printing is so much easier. It's a different world. And I think for me, I'm still in that, even though I've been doing it a few years now. I just don't want to let that go. I'm like, you guys don't know how hard I had to work when I did this the first time. I'm going to do as much as I can.
Yeah. Ted Davies interviewed me the other day, and we were talking, and I said, look, he was shocked to find out that we would take our boards, our originals, and ship them off to the printer.
Yeah.
Because they had to photograph them. There were no scanners. And he was just like, how could you trust? And I was like, dude, that's all it was trust. He says you had to put it in the mail and you had to send it out there and pray it got back to you, And I never had a problem. I always got it back.
And then the worst part, if you didn't do that and you found a friend of a friend of a friend who had a big enough scanner for you to scan it, quality wasn't like it is now. They can't really fix it. If you sent it, that's what it is. So if it got a little bit of light in the corner, that light in the little bit of corner is staying there forever. It doesn't work that way. One little mistake, they can't go in Photoshop for you back in the day. It just didn't work like that.
Yeah, that was just the funniest thing. I was like, no, dude, it was rough. It was rough, But all right, so now let's talk a little bit about Voodoo Nations. So how many days are left in the campaign?
We got 5 days, 5 whole days.
Nice. Okay, cool. So so there's time for growth, which is always a fantastic thing.
Yeah, you get the last 3 days, you get that big boost on Kickstarter, so that's exciting. I'll get that.
That's always a good thing. Now, what attracted you to team up with your partner Travis? I mean, Luke? What attracted you to team up with your partner Luke?
I mean, to be fair, I didn't want to partner with Travis. He was miserable. I don't like him.
That guy
gets a little too volatile. He's really hard on himself. Like, I don't like him. No. So what happened was Luke is a fellow creator, and I've known him. I've seen him in the circles, and he was doing his hybrids campaign, and it was the last of his campaign, wrapping it all up 1 through 5, getting ready for the trade. And it wasn't performing well. And my heart went out to the guy, and I was just like, you've suffered and made 5 books and you haven't figured. And I looked at his Kickstarter numbers, and I didn't know that he had decent numbers over Indiegogo at the time. I just knew he had not so great numbers on Kickstarter. So I taught him how to do a Kickstarter and lay it out properly. And it really changed his life. He went from normally doing like $500 to $1,000 to $3,000 on his last Kickstarter, which is a big deal. Mm-hmm. So Luke and I started becoming friends. We started talking on a regular basis. He was working for a company called Starcrossed. I'm a Christian, and I was like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool if I worked for a Christian company. Let me write you guys a one-shot or something. Mm-hmm. So I looked at my folder, and I had Voodoo Nations, and I was like, ask this. This is very edgy, very dark, maybe not Starcrossed, but Voodoo Nations, what it is, one of the things about it on the deeper level is it's about how I feel about what we do as Christians in missionary culture and a lot of the BS that comes with it. Right? If anybody's ever watched a Christian movie, it's always everything's good all the time. Like this slightly bad thing happens and then it gets fixed at the end. Mm-hmm. Even Jesus didn't have that experience, right? He was beat the crap out of him and then hung up. Like, it doesn't work like that. Just because you decide, it doesn't work like that. So I really wanted to read something dark and really challenging to people's faith and everything. So I wrote that and I sent it to Luke. Luke was like, I love it. I'll get Starcrossed on it. We got it at Starcrossed. Luke and Starcrossed decided to separate. Luke was ready to move on. So we decided to put it under our label, and we're going to shop around after. But really, Luke had the time because of COVID. COVID really helped us out, and that's what made us decide to put it together.
Right. Gotcha. Now, this subject, the voodoo thing, like why voodoo?
Yeah.
I find that fascinating.
Why not voodoo? Why not? No, well, first, can we take a minute? You may not know, so you're a wrestling fan?
I was back in the day. I haven't watched in a while. I'm a UFC fan now.
That's all I need is back in the day. That's all I need. Okay. Camilla died today.
Oh, okay.
Camilla is the big voodoo guy from WWE. And it's hard for me, being a marketer, to not exploit that right now. Like, I just want to be like, hashtag Kamala, Voodoo Nations, buy it as honor. Anyway, sorry. So voodoo's never been an interest to me until I was in film school. I was really good at writing scripts in film school. In fact, 90% of the films that were done in my film school were written by my script. Whether or not somebody else's name was on it, it was my script because I wrote it or rewrote it or whatever the case would be. Right. I just really dug script writing. I really wanted to be a writer. I really wanted to do screenwriting. Someone hired me to do a voodoo and learned about voodoo and the religion of what voodoo was, and I got fascinated with it. And as I became a Christian, I heard I have a couple of websites for people out hating missionaries and missions that are out there, and they talk about voodoo and what they have to deal with in that culture. I went to Mexico and found out that the statues in Mexico, behind them are the voodoo gods, and you're voting to the voodoo spirits. So I was really fascinated with that whole world. And I wanted to write about modern day missionaries and how we're sending people out. So back in the day, the way missionaries work is you go to your church would then go, hey, you're worth it. We believe in you. We believe that you have the strength and character to go and do these missions. But we've effed that up. We've got GoDaddy, GoFundMe. We have all these things. So if you want to just be a missionary, all you got to do is convince enough people to give you money. It doesn't matter how much training you have in a day, and you just go out and do it. So I really want to tackle that subject with the extreme of what you could find out in the mission field of somebody who does something different. And I really try to respect the voodoo relationship. In the first issue, like, he's an evil dude. Like, I'll tell you he's evil, but he does a lot of really good things for his people because, like most villains, they believe in what they're doing. They believe that what they're doing is what's best for the people. So I wanted to do that good versus evil. And I wanted to show, as I'm doing that, the Christian, hey, what real Christianity looks like when you go to rock bottom. How do you get back up from that? I also wanted to show that voodoo, as we've seen on TV or in movies, it's not that cut and dry. The voodoo that's practiced in Brazil is not the same voodoo relationship that's set in New Orleans, nor the one in Mexico, nor the one in Haiti. They're all different. Sometimes the gods' names are switched, and they do different purposes. There's all sorts of different things on the way to do it. So it really fascinated me, and I wanted to kind of show that culture and show the differences between them while doing things. Because, Brother Voodoo doesn't do anything different. He's just a magic user,
Right, yeah.
Kind of doing that aspect.
Gotcha. All right, that's really cool. So, I mean, were you now doing the research? Did you actually get a hold of some books, or did you do the Wikipedia thing? How did you go? I mean, obviously you probably hit Wikipedia, but did you find any interesting books?
Only crazy Wikipedia articles is all I did. Right. So the crazier, regardless of how many, regardless if it's wrong, I can just blame it on Wikipedia. No, I did a lot of research. I didn't buy any books. I have had books in the past. Before I was a Christian, I studied all religion, paganism, all of that stuff. So I used to have all those books, but I threw them away when I was a Christian. But there's a lot of research, and there's a lot of research I do every day. Like just today when I was finishing up the script, I wanted to make sure that God's character, the spirit's characteristics were right, and what I'm writing and how it's done is done properly. So I'm trying to be very respectful to the religion, but painting them in as a bad guy. It's a weird time to do it, because I was even contacted by members of the Black Comic community, and they expressed to me their concern. They're like, "Hey, if you haven't noticed, like, we're trying to take voodoo back and make it a very positive thing, our religion, what we do. We're really nervous about you writing this and taking us back." And I was just like, but it's classic, things, the voodoo, like a witch doctor being the villain. There's tons of movies about that. Like, it's a thing, it's a trope. You can have yours and I can have mine. Like, how can we reconcile that?
Right.
But we made some compromises, because I believe that you should make some compromises. It's okay to make a compromise or hear other people. So the main character was Puerto Rican, but she was very light-skinned Puerto Rican. So he just made a dark-skinned Puerto Rican to really play that up. And it also helps. There's a lot of rituals in just being a Puerto Rican that you have. A lot of my friends I go to a church that's primarily a Spanish church. And so there's a lot of rituals that they have that I really felt like it actually kind of fit a little bit better, making it very deep into the Puerto Rican culture. I think you're Puerto Rican too, if I'm not mistaken, right? I just started interview, right?
Yeah, you've heard. Yeah, I've
so now you're gonna be judging every aspect of the book.
every little bit. I'll be all over it. So all right, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Now, how many issues is the series going to be?
We're doing 4 issues. We're doing four issues.
Okay.
It's a 4-issue arc. There is, room for more after that, but we're going to start out with the 4-issue. It's going to start in Brazil, go to New Orleans, go to Mexico, and then back to Brazil for the final confrontation. And it's going to be dark. It's an interesting book to write, especially people who know me. Broke down its heavy dialogue, lots of funny dialogue, and really building that, where this is very personal, very intimate. It's about mission, about all that stuff, but it's also about death. One of the main characters dies in the book at some point. And it's not to spoil thing, because he gets resurrected. You're good. But that death and how you deal with that, that's something I've dealt with in the last couple of years. My mom and my dad both died. And I did some crazy things during that time that were very uncharacteristic of me. because I was dealing with the grief of it.
Right.
An example of that is, and where New Orleans comes into play, is my mom was a recovering alcoholic most of my life. She went in at 13 years old, was in AA.
Yeah.
I went to New Orleans and took my brother and got drunk on Bourbon Street, like to honor on my mom's birthday and stuff. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, but you're coping, you are coping,
Right.
and you're doing silly things that don't make sense to like you or your character or who you would be. Like, and I really wanted to tackle what that looks like.
No, that's actually really cool. Now, obviously you're gonna make a trade at the end of this. Now, but what type of cycle are you looking at as far as a release? I mean, obviously you're doing the first one. Are you looking, every quarter to release another book, or are you looking every 6 months?
So this year we're going to do 2. So he's going to try to finish up the next one before the end of the year. That's our deadline.
Right.
But we may not go to Kickstarter really quick, and we may hold off on going to Kickstarter just because, like I said, I got all these other projects, and I want to make sure it has it deserves its own marketing, because all my stuff are different. I've got a crime book, I've got this, I got Cthulhu. Everything needs to be marketed slightly different. So I've got to figure that out. So you may not see it to the beginning of next year. We're going to try to finish the other 2. So hopefully by the end of 2021, you'll have all 4 issues. That's our goal.
Nice. Now, I want to give a little highlight to Cthulhu because I'm a big Lovecraft fan. So talk to me about that a little bit. What's that about?
So I really wanted to work with my friends. I made so many friends in the industry, and I had this idea. I noticed that on Kickstarter that Cthulhu books do really well, and that Wizard of Oz books do really well. Well, they're both public domain, so what can I do? So I made a book called Cthulhu Invades Oz, and it comes out, it's launching in October, and I grabbed the best writers and artists that I know. So I booked a Scout, Source Point, Action Labs book. A lot of them are writers from those groups, and then a sprinkle of us low-life Kickstarter people and Indiegogo guys, just bottom feeders, just kind of in there as well. But what I did was I gave every creative team a character, so they handled a character in the story. So they would tell what would happen with that character. But what's interesting about it, which makes this book unique, is it's not a anthology in the traditional form. Meaning, so we'll see Dorothy right at the beginning. She's at day 1 of the invasion, and then everybody's story will take place at a different part of the invasion. So the story does progress, and it has a beginning and an end, but you're seeing glimpses of time. So there's tons of stories that happen that we don't see, but these are what we have. So it's really, really cool. It's 165 pages so far. People are loving it. We really like it. Everything to do with it is really, really cool. I can the trailer's really short. Do you want to check out the trailer real quick?
Yeah, if you want, you can post it up. I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
You can share it.
I will. But do you have any questions while I grab that?
Yeah, I mean, so how many artist writer groups are you incorporated in that issue?
That is a huge, big question that I don't really know the answer to off the top of my head.
Gotcha.
I should. So we have how many stories? I'm gonna find that. Okay, why don't we watch the trailer real quick, and I'll get you the question. Oh, look, Kevin's on here. Just shoved. Good show, guys. Thanks, Kevin. I'll let you bring it up. I'll just add it into the chat here. Only a minute something long.
Gotcha.
It's the art reveal. And while you're answering that, I'll answer that other question. And you can absolutely ask me questions about anything.
Oh, no, of course. Hold on, let me pull this thing up for you. There we go. Bam.
So I grabbed the bigger. Let me just drop some names for you as you're pulling it up. So Richard Rivera from Stabby Bunny is a writer on this. We got Joel Rodriguez, who does Dust County Chronicles. We got David Bryant, the co-publisher of Scout. We've got what we got? Jonathan Hendricks. He just signed a book called The Recount with Scout Comics. Got David Galliano, who does Savage Bastards at Mad Cave. We've got anybody. We've got Chuck Pino doing Scarecrow. We've got all sorts of stuff.
All right, hold on. Let's play this video.
There's sound in the sound. You can use the sound.
Huh?
There's sound.
Can you hear it?
No, I can't. Can you?
Hold on. Yeah, so you couldn't hear the sound?
No.
Oh, that's
weird.
All
right. They can see the pretty art. We'll talk over it.
Okay, yeah. Because it's funny, because on my end, I can hear the sound.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So as you can see, there's beautiful pieces in here. We kind of did that. That's Tyler Carpenter. He did some stuff in there. That's Rich Rivera. He did The Cowardly Lion. That's David Bryan and Brian Silverback. That's Steve Eskew, who used to work for Newsarama. That is Brian Silvery and Greg Alices. That is the Mad Cave guy, David Galliano. That is Russell T. Davies. That is me doing Dorothy. I also hired a 14-year-old girl to do that, which is really cool because of Dorothy. Martha and Rob Anderson did that one. And that is an alternate cover. And these are kind of the teams that are being announced that kind of share who's does who. Like I said, Joe Rodriguez does Cthulhu. I do Dorothy. He does Flying Monkey. Also Unraveled. That is a Toto story with Eric Hawkins. Can't read them all. Sorry, they're going too fast. And we're also doing poetry in the book too. So there's going to be poetry spread out in between each of the chapters, which I think is going to be
cool.
That Scarecrow is by Chuck. We've got the Tin Man. Sorry, it's going so fast. It's hard to see him.
Yeah, I know. It's going.
He's there. Greg Gonzalez. That's Rob Anderson. Launching in October.
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that looks fantastic, man. I mean, like I said, I'm a big Cthulhu fan, so so I will definitely be there for that one. So is that you guys looking to print the trade paperback hardcover?
Yeah, it's a trade paperback. I may do hardcover. It's really hard, man. When you do these, they expect to get these aren't right. They want to get paid, JD.
I know.
And it's very frustrating because I keep telling them it's a love of the art, and they're just like, I love the art of getting paid, and I just don't understand.
Yeah. I got you.
So that we're gonna figure it out because it's gonna be like a $10,000 to $20,000 Kickstarter. Because I'm paying everybody a page rate of $50 a page, which is low, because that's gonna be split up behind the whole team. So I've got to do that, and then some comps. So we're trying to figure that out, how to do that to make everybody get their books and make everyone feel that it was worth their time. But I think this book is going to be big. I think it's going to be a big deal. I think everyone's going to be very happy with the results. So,
Gotcha. Well, no, it looks fantastic. Definitely looks like one that's worth my time. So I definitely, will pick that one up and help pimp it out for you.
Yeah. I think people are going to be really into that. I mean, we've got such a great team, and the concept of Cthulhu invading Oz is just, just a great concept for a book. Like, I'm shocked that nobody else did it before me, to be honest. Because there's so many things, and we're writing it in a way, like I said, that, more stories can happen if it goes really well. We already lined up a sequel if it does really, really well. So,
right. Okay. That sounds cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to it.
We've been working on it for a year, so it's pretty much done right now. Like, we just, I have all these other Kickstarters that are distracting me. Right.
Gotcha. Well, no, that's cool, but it's coming in October, so it's coming.
Yeah.
That's what counts.
The minute this Kickstarter is funded and delivered, that is all I want to talk about.
Gotcha. All right. So now we've been at this for a minute, Travis. So let's move on to my funky questions.
Okay.
All right. So like I said, we're close to the end, but we're not there just yet. So, but before we get there, one, please let everybody know where they can find Travis, your work. What you're currently working on. Where can they find you?
You can find me for Broke Down 4 Dead Bodies. You can find me at Broke Down InfortedPodcast.com. For Voodoo Nations, you can find me at VoodooNations.com. Better place to find me is on Kickstarter.com for Voodoo for the next 5 days. Jesterlou, JESTERLOU, is for Twitter and Instagram. And then obviously find me at my name on Facebook.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Now, one last regular question, which is one I ask everybody. Is there anything you wanted to talk about or discuss that I didn't ask you prior to this?
I wanted to talk about how beautiful my wife is. She does a great job editing the book as well, but really, like, she's hot. I just wanted everyone to know. Like, if you don't have a hot wife, get jealous, because I do. And I apologize you guys have to go through your life with your ugly wife. Well, I have a pretty amazing wife.
Awesome. Well, good for you. I'm very happy for you. So what is it? Okay, so now we're gonna move on to some of my wacky questions. First being, now you're a writer, creator, all this good stuff. If you had the choice of picking an artist to do a cover for you, living or dead, don't worry about budget, who would you pick?
Jim Lee. You'd always have to pick Jim Lee.
No.
I know, like, a lot of people be like Kirby or things like that. Like, I get it. I totally get, like, all those things. But I would probably do Jim Lee. Really like Jim Lee. Maybe Frank Miller, because I do a lot of crime stuff. So I'd really like a Frank Miller crime stuff. And it's not that I don't think Kirby's a better artist. Please don't misunderstand me. But I don't write Kirby stuff. Does that make sense? Like, yes. The New Gods, like, I don't even understand it half the time. Like, it's not Grant Morrison don't understand. Like, I get it, but, like, it's, like, complicated. Right. Like, he was still out there. And even Steve Ditko, like, that early stuff, like, I really like the modernized version of Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite, but modernized. And I've had a lot of my people do stuff. I've got some of my pros doing things. That have Carl Moline, who created Frey, does Buffy. He did a cover for me, and a few other people. So I'm getting some off my bucket list.
Okay, that's cool. All right. So now, so let's say, Travis, you got the golden ticket, and you got the call up to the big companies, and they said, "All right, Travis, whoever you want to do, pick a book, any book, and who would be your lead artist for it." Oh, and it doesn't matter if it's Marvel, DC. It could be outside of Marvel, DC. It doesn't be Image, any other kind.
I'd have to write Spidey. It's not what I should get. Like, obviously starting out, I should earn my way, and I'd write like a Darkhawk or like a New Warriors. But Spider-Man, like, you gotta write Spider-Man. And I'm a bigger X-Men fan than Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man is the icon. Like, if you can't relate to if you're a male, like, you gotta relate to Spider-Man. You gotta feel like my whole. We're gonna get real here, Jake. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I believe everybody has a brokenness, right? There's a brokenness in them that they can't fix. Mm-hmm. That you work on it, you get better at it, but you can't fix it. And mine is, I just have never felt I'm good enough. Mm-hmm. Peter Parker, in me, have that same emotional tint, right? Mm-hmm. He's fighting Galactus, and he's like, man, I got to get out and make those medicines. I'm missing this party with MJ. I'm not doing enough. And that hits my heart. And I think that as someone who really gets that, like, deep inside, like that's my modus operandus. Like, I would love to be able to write that and really drive that home and drive that story.
Gotcha. Now, who would draw it, though?
It wouldn't matter. I'm writing Spider-Man. I don't give a crap.
Gotcha.
Really, like, it's crazy. Like, I don't give a crap. Who would I want to draw? Because I want to pick someone a little bit out of the way. Fiona Staples. That's Saga, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's who I would have. I'd love her to do Spider-Man. Actually, I think she's the one who's doing the J.J. Abrams. She may be doing Spider-Man right now. But no, I like her. I like
Yeah.
her. I think she does fantastic emotions.
Mhm.
Yeah, Fiona Staples. I think she would be a perfect person to draw.
Cool. Yeah,
That,
no, Fiona's incredible. I mean,
yeah.
I love Saga. Beautiful book. All right, cool. So now we're gonna do some comparatives. All right. So I'm gonna softball you.
Okay.
We'll start with those. Captain America or Batman?
Batman.
Okay.
We've already seen it in Marvel vs. DC, and they gave up.
Mhm.
But I think Batman's got a lot smarter since he's got the satin chair and
Mhm.
done the Promethean thing, the Omega project. Like, Cap's going down. Cap's been whiny and been replaced every couple of years.
Right. Well, true. Godzilla or Gamera?
Uh, let's go Godzilla, but I don't care about giant monsters. So.
Okay. Fair enough. Um, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle or Agatha Christie?
Oh, Agatha Christie all day long.
Okay.
And then there were none.
Yep. Kirk or Picard?
I like Kirk better, but
Mhm.
Kirk would kick his ass. Like if we're talking
Oh,
talking strategy or any of that stuff.
right.
Picard is there. I just like Kirk that he can hit things.
Gotcha. Frank Miller or Alan Moore?
Frank Miller.
Okay. Fair enough. Stan Lee or Jack Kirby?
Stan Lee.
Okay.
He's already stole it. I might as well just give it to him.
This is true. He did. Let's see. John Byrne or George Perez?
I'm gonna go George Perez. So that's a really hard one.
Now, why'd you pick George?
Because I don't have to deal with the politics of John Burns.
Okay. Gotcha.
George Perez has consistently just pushed his envelope of his art as he's gone, where John's really has the same style he's always had.
True. Very true. Bram Stoker or Mary Shelley?
Bram Stoker, Dracula all the way.
Cool. You a horror fan?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so when I ask you probably 2 or 3 more of these, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right.
Pinhead or Freddy Krueger?
Freddy Krueger.
Okay, cool. Walking Dead or Dawn of the Dead?
Gonna have to go Walking Dead, but that's just because the source material that it comes from is really, really good, so it gives it that edge.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm gonna wrap.
Romano, like George, like over Kirkman any day when it comes to zombies.
Yes, I agree. We'll wrap it up on this one. All right. So, Grant Morrison or Neil Gaiman, and why?
Okay, that's not even a question for me. Neil Gaiman, always. I love Neil Gaiman. I study everything Neil Gaiman. I even took the master's class of Neil Gaiman. Reason why: one, I don't need a thesis to understand what he's trying to tell me, which is great. Because Grant Morrison, you got to read it 5 times and then smoke pot to understand what it's stuff. And I don't do drugs, so I have no idea what anything he says.
Right.
Grant Morrison also killed Batman with a magic bullet. Apparently, they did it in Cap too. Again, stupid plot. Neil Gaiman's never done that to me. The worst thing he's done is made Captain America Indian. That's the worst thing he's ever done.
Gotcha.
But no, I love his novels. I love the way he talks, his heart. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Travis, we made it. We made it to the end.
Woo!
All right, cool. So now, one more time, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
BrokeDown4DeadBuddies.com, VoodooNations.com, Travis Gibb on Facebook, Instagram, even Gmail, Travis Gibb at Gmail. Jesterlou, Jesterlou for Instagram and Twitter.
All right.
That's it.
All right. So Once again, folks, thank you very much for showing up. Please like, subscribe, share out the video, hit that notification bell. Go check out the Oswald Chronicles on Indiegogo, and go check out Voodoo Nations on Kickstarter. 5 days left. Go get yourself an awesome copy.
Get it.
Right?
Thank you.
That's right. So thanks a lot, everybody, and I'll be talking to you soon. Just hold on, Travis.